The Galactic Senate had witnessed thousands of wars over the last 10,000 years. Entire civilizations had risen and fallen before its towering silver halls. Empires had conquered galaxies. Ancient races had erased stars. Yet never, not once, had anyone dared declare total war on Earth. Until today. A heavy silence filled the Senate chamber as Supreme Chancellor Vorak of the mighty Zarkonian Empire stepped onto the central platform. Nearly 400 alien ambassadors watched from their floating seats. Vorak smiled. Today, he announced confidently, humanity will finally learn its place. Massive holograms appeared above the chamber. Images of Earth rotated slowly, surrounded by red targeting markers. Our intelligence confirms the Terrans possess fewer than 1,200 frontline warships. Their military technology is primitive compared to ours. Their alliances are weak. Their worlds are scattered. Many delegates nodded. The Zarkonian Empire ruled over 12,000 inhabited systems. Their fleets numbered nearly 200,000 capital ships. No one had challenged them in over 6 centuries. Vorak continued. At exactly 0900 Galactic Standard Time, we officially declare war on Earth. The chamber erupted. Some senators applauded. Others remained disturbingly quiet. Only Ambassador Lyra of the Arcturian Collective lowered her head. She had visited Earth. She had seen something the others had ignored. Humans never displayed their true strength. Thousands of light-years away. New Geneva Orbital Command. Instead of panic, the declaration of war was greeted by silence. Admiral Marcus Hale watched the transmission without changing his expression. When it ended, he simply looked toward his officers. So, he asked calmly, they finally did it. General Sofia Reyes nodded. Yes, sir. No negotiations? They rejected every diplomatic channel. No evacuation requests? None. Marcus smiled faintly. Then activate Protocol Aegis. Every officer immediately stood. No hesitation. No fear. Across Earth's military networks, one encrypted command spread faster than light. Aegis Protocol activated. Within seconds, hidden shipyards buried inside asteroids awakened. Ancient orbital stations powered up after decades of silence. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, gigantic blast doors opened. Inside rested ships no alien civilization even knew existed. The moon slowly shifted. Not because it moved naturally, but because enormous camouflage systems disengaged. Entire fleets emerged from within artificial caverns beneath its surface. Hundreds became thousands. Thousands became tens of thousands. The civilian population continued their daily routines. Children went to school. Farmers harvested crops. Cities remained peaceful. Only one news broadcast appeared worldwide. Remain calm. Earth has prepared for this day for over 200 years. Meanwhile, the Zarkonian High Fleet crossed the outer borders of the Sol system. Grand Admiral Xeron stood proudly aboard the flagship Imperator. Behind him stretched nearly 60,000 warships, the largest invasion force in galactic history. His officers celebrated before the battle had even begun. Our victory will be remembered forever. The Terrans won't survive the first hour. They should have surrendered. Xeron raised his hand confidently. Prepare the opening bombardment. Before anyone could respond, every sensor aboard the flagship suddenly flashed crimson. Warning! Unknown contact detected. One officer frowned. Sir, I'm reading impossible numbers. What do you mean impossible? There are. He swallowed. Ships. How many? The officer looked at the display. His hands began shaking. I can't count them. The tactical AI interrupted. Contact update. 10,000, 25,000, 60,000. The numbers kept climbing. Entire fleets emerged from behind planets. More appeared from asteroid belts. The moon itself split open. Gigantic white Terran warships emerged in perfect formation. Each one larger than the Zarkonian flagship. Silence filled the bridge. Someone whispered, "Where were they hiding?" Grand Admiral Xeron stared at the tactical display. For the first time in his career, he felt fear. Then every Terran ship transmitted the exact same message across every frequency. A calm human voice echoed through space. You declared war on Earth. The pause. You have exactly 72 hours to regret it. The bridge of the Zarkonian flagship Imperator fell completely silent. Grand Admiral Xeron stared at the tactical display, unable to believe what he was seeing. Only moments ago, he had expected a quick victory. Now, an endless sea of white Terran warships surrounded his invasion fleet from every direction. The tactical AI continued its report. Confirmed enemy vessels. 83,442. Another pause. Correction. 91,817. The number kept increasing. Every few seconds, another hidden Terran fleet appeared from deep space, emerging from asteroid belts, dormant space stations, and artificial moons. Impossible! One officer whispered. No civilization can build this many warships without being detected. Xeron clenched his fists. Enough! He turned toward the weapons commander. They're bluffing. Fire! Within seconds, thousands of Zarkonian plasma cannons illuminated the darkness. The first wave of energy lances rushed toward the Terran formation. Every alien officer expected explosions. Instead, nothing happened. Just before impact, shimmering blue barriers expanded around the human fleet. The plasma barrage disappeared against the shields as though it had struck an ocean. Not a single Terran ship moved. Not one. The bridge became eerily quiet. Shield integrity? Xeron demanded. A sensor officer answered with a trembling voice. They didn't lose anything. What? 0% shield loss. Even the ship's AI confirmed it. Enemy shield damage, 0%. Several officers looked at one another in disbelief. One quietly muttered, "What kind of technology is this?" Far away, aboard Earth's flagship TNS Resolute, Admiral Marcus Hale calmly watched the battlefield. General Sofia Reyes stood beside him. Our defensive grid held exactly as predicted. Marcus nodded. They expected us to panic. They never studied human history. He looked at the tactical map. For 2 centuries we've prepared for one possibility. The day someone became arrogant enough to invade Earth. He activated the fleet-wide channel. Operation Iron Horizon. Across the Sol system, millions of encrypted signals activated simultaneously. Hidden orbital factories came alive. Deep beneath Mars, colossal shipyards released another wave of dreadnoughts. Near Jupiter, enormous defense platforms unfolded from beneath floating mining stations. Saturn's rings lit up as thousands of autonomous missile satellites awakened after decades of silence. The Sol system itself had become a fortress. Back aboard the Imperator, alarms suddenly screamed. Warning! Unknown gravitational disturbance detected. What now? Xeron shouted. The navigation officer's eyes widened. Sir, human ships are disappearing. Disappearing? They're teleporting. Entire Terran battle groups vanished in flashes of blue light. Seconds later they reappeared behind the Zarkonian fleet. The aliens spun their weapons around too late. Human rail cannons fired. Unlike ordinary weapons, these projectiles traveled at terrifying speed. The first Zarkonian battleship split cleanly in half. Then another. Then 10 more. Massive explosions illuminated space. The human fleet maintained perfect formation. No cheering. No celebration. Only precise, disciplined fire. Within 30 minutes, nearly 6,000 Zarkonian ships had been destroyed. Human losses? Xeron slammed his fist against the command console. Launch the Titans. The order echoed across the invasion fleet. Gigantic superdreadnoughts advanced from the rear. Each measured nearly 30 kilometers long. These monsters had destroyed civilizations. Entire star systems had surrendered at their arrival. The Zarkonian officers smiled again. Now they'll understand. The lead Titan charged its planet killer cannon. The weapon glowed brighter than a star. It fired. A beam capable of shattering continents raced toward Earth's flagship. Admiral Hale didn't even flinch. "Permission to demonstrate Project Aegis?" asked Sophia. Marcus smiled slightly. "Granted." The TNS Resolute activated a strange circular structure surrounding its hull. For a brief moment, space itself appeared to bend. The planet killer beam struck and vanished. Not blocked. Not reflected. Gone. The entire bridge of the Imperator stared in disbelief. Seconds later, alarms erupted aboard the lead Titan. "Sir." The energy signature. Before the officer could finish, the exact same planet killer beam reappeared inside the Titan's own reactor core. For one frozen second, every Zarkonian watched in horror. Then the superdreadnought exploded in a blinding sphere of light. The shockwave ripped through nearby ships, destroying dozens more. Silence followed. General Sophia looked at the tactical display. "They just destroyed themselves." Marcus folded his hands behind his back. Arrogance is the easiest weapon to turn against its owner. Back on the Imperator, panic began spreading. For the first time in centuries, Zarkonian officers whispered words no one thought they would ever hear. "We can't win. They've prepared for everything. They wanted us to attack." Xeron refused to accept it. "No. They're only defending. They haven't shown us their real strength yet." Almost as if the universe answered him, every Terran battleship suddenly accelerated. Nearly 100,000 warships moved forward in perfect synchronization. A single transmission echoed across every frequency. 24 hours have passed. You still have 48 hours to surrender. After that, your empire will exist only in history. The bridge fell silent. For the first time since the war began, the Zarkonian Empire realized they were not fighting for victory. They were fighting for survival. The countdown continued. 48 hours remained. Across the galaxy, every major civilization watched the war through live quantum broadcasts. What had begun as another arrogant invasion had transformed into something no one had imagined. The mighty Zarkonian Empire, the civilization that had ruled the galaxy for 6 centuries, was retreating. Not advancing. Retreating. Inside the Galactic Senate, the atmosphere had completely changed. The same senators who had applauded Earth's destruction only a day earlier now sat in stunned silence as holographic maps displayed an endless stream of red warning symbols. One by one, Zarkonian frontier systems were going dark. Entire fleets had stopped responding. Trade routes had collapsed. Military outposts simply disappeared. Supreme Chancellor Vorak stood frozen before the massive display. "This can't be happening," he whispered. An intelligence officer hurried into the chamber. "Your Excellency, we've confirmed the reports." Vorak turned sharply. "Speak." "The Terrans are not invading civilian worlds." The chamber became quiet. "They're only targeting military infrastructure." "What?" "They've destroyed shipyards, weapons factories, command centers, communication relays, and fleet headquarters." Another officer added nervously, "They're leaving hospitals, cities, schools, and civilian transports completely untouched." Several senators exchanged confused looks. "If humanity can destroy entire planets," one ambassador asked, "why spare civilians?" No one answered. Far away, aboard the Terran flagship TNS Resolute, Admiral Marcus Hale watched hundreds of battle reports scroll across his screen. General Sofia Reyes smiled slightly. "Our precision strike success rate is 99.8%. Marcus nodded. "Good. The innocent are not our enemy. Our target is the machine that created this war." He looked toward the stars. Never confuse justice with revenge. Meanwhile, Grand Admiral Xeron's fleet had been reduced by nearly half. The once proud armada of 60,000 warships now consisted of fewer than 30,000 damaged vessels. The bridge of the Imperator no longer looked confident. Smoke filled several corridors. Emergency crews rushed between damaged control stations. Alarms never stopped. A communications officer suddenly stood. "Sir, we've lost contact with Sector 9. Another officer interrupted. "And Sector 12. Then another. Military Command Alpha has fallen. Orbital Fortress Sigma destroyed. 3 Titan shipyards, gone. Every report struck like another hammer blow. Xeron slammed both hands onto the tactical table. Where are they attacking from? The navigation officer answered quietly. Everywhere. The screen zoomed outward. Thousands of blue Terran icons appeared across the Empire. Entire strike groups had somehow bypassed border defenses. They attacked simultaneously across hundreds of light years. Military headquarters exploded within seconds of one another. Fuel depots vanished. Weapons factories burned. Fleet command stations fell silent. It was as though humanity knew every secret military installation ever built. Xeron's face turned pale. How? An elderly intelligence officer finally spoke. Sir, we've discovered something. What? For over 100 years. He hesitated. Human merchant ships have visited nearly every Zarkonian system. So, they weren't just merchants. The realization hit everyone at once. They were mapping us. Every shipping lane. Every military depot. Every hidden base. Every emergency command bunker. For an entire century, humanity had quietly gathered information while pretending to be a harmless trading civilization. The invasion of Earth had merely activated a plan prepared generations earlier. Back on Earth, families watched the war from their homes. Children asked questions. Mom, are we winning? The mother smiled gently. We're ending a war before it reaches our world. Across parks and streets, life continued almost normally. Factories worked day and night. Volunteers packed medical supplies. Scientists monitored defense systems. No celebrations. No hatred. Only determination. Humanity had no desire to conquer the galaxy. They simply refused to be conquered. Then came the moment that shocked every civilization. Without warning, thousands of Terran ships suddenly exited hyperspace above Zarkon Prime, the heavily fortified Imperial capital. Panic spread instantly. Defense satellites activated. Planetary cannons charged. Millions of citizens looked toward the sky as the largest fleet ever assembled appeared above their world. Grand Admiral Xeron stared at the live transmission in horror. They've reached the capital? But that's impossible. No enemy fleet had ever penetrated the capital's defenses. Not once. Yet the humans stood above the Imperial Palace itself. Admiral Marcus Hale opened a direct channel to Chancellor Vork. The image of the calm Terran commander appeared across every screen on Zarkon Prime. His voice remained steady. Chancellor Vork, you declared this war. You ignored every warning. You believed power gave you the right to decide who deserved peace. Behind Marcus, nearly 100,000 Terran warships floated silently. Weapons locked. Ready. But humanity does not seek your extinction. A long pause followed. We seek your surrender. Order every remaining fleet to stand down. Release every occupied civilization. Sign a permanent peace treaty. Do this, and your people will live. The Senate chamber erupted into arguments. Some begged Vorik to surrender. Others demanded one final attack. Vorik's pride would not allow defeat. He slowly leaned toward the microphone. I would rather watch my empire burn than kneel before humans. Marcus closed his eyes for a brief moment. When he opened them, there was no anger. Only disappointment. He quietly turned to General Sophia. The final countdown begins. Sophia nodded. Yes, Admiral. A galaxy-wide transmission echoed through space. 48 hours have passed. 24 hours remain. After that, the Zarkonian Empire will cease to exist. The galaxy held its breath. Only 24 hours remained. Every major news network, every military command center, and every inhabited world watched the countdown in stunned silence. Never before had an entire empire been given a deadline for its own survival. And never before had that deadline seemed so inevitable. Inside the Imperial Palace on Zarkon Prime, panic had replaced pride. The grand halls that once echoed with victory celebrations were now filled with hurried footsteps, flashing emergency lights, and terrified military officers. Supreme Chancellor Vorik stood before a massive holographic map. Red warning symbols covered nearly every sector of the empire. "Status report," he demanded. The Minister of Defense swallowed nervously. "We've lost another 43 star systems. Our Western fleet has surrendered. The Eastern Command has ceased transmitting. Our supply lines no longer exist." Another officer stepped forward. "Your Excellency, our remaining fuel reserves will last less than 12 hours. Silence. The strongest empire in the galaxy was collapsing without a single human soldier setting foot on its worlds. Aboard the TNS Resolute, Admiral Marcus Hale reviewed the latest battle reports. General Sophia Reyes approached. "Operation Iron Horizon is complete." Marcus looked up. "Casualties?" "Terran military losses remain below 1%. "Civilian casualties?" Sophia smiled faintly. "0. Marcus nodded with satisfaction. "That's exactly how history should remember us." Around them, officers coordinated thousands of fleets with perfect precision. Every attack followed the same rule. Destroy weapons. Disable fleets. Protect civilians. It wasn't conquest. It was the surgical dismantling of a war machine. Meanwhile, Grand Admiral Xeron refused to surrender. His flagship, Imperator, was battered and scarred, but still operational. He addressed the surviving commanders. "We have one chance left." The officers looked at him hopefully. "We strike Earth directly." One captain hesitated. "Sir, every previous assault failed." Xeron's voice hardened. "Then we don't attack their fleet. We attack their home." He revealed a classified weapon. Project Oblivion. A massive stealth vessel hidden for centuries. Unlike ordinary warships, it carried a quantum singularity bomb powerful enough to crack a planet's core. "If Earth falls," Xeron declared, "humanity loses." The surviving officers agreed. The stealth vessel jumped into hyperspace. Invisible. Undetectable. Headed straight for Earth. Hours later, the stealth ship exited hyperspace beyond Pluto. Its captain smiled. "No Terran patrols. We did it." The singularity weapon began charging. 90%. 95%. 99. Suddenly, every light aboard the vessel shut off. The engines died. The crew looked around in confusion. What happened? Then a calm human voice echoed through every speaker. "Looking for Earth?" The captain froze. The main view screen activated by itself. There, only a few kilometers away, floated a single Terran ship. Silent. Its white hull reflected the distant sunlight. No weapons appeared visible. No escorts. Just one ship. The captain laughed. One ship. Then his sensors came online. His smile vanished. Behind that lone vessel, hundreds of hidden Terran battleships uncloaked. Then thousands. Then an entire defense fleet emerged from empty space. Earth had known about Project Oblivion before it had even launched. The human voice spoke again. "We've been monitoring this vessel for 18 years. The Zarkonian crew stared in disbelief. 18 years? Human intelligence had infiltrated their deepest secrets long before the war began. Without firing a single shot, the Terran fleet remotely disabled the singularity bomb. Moments later, boarding drones secured the stealth ship. Not one crew member was harmed. Project Oblivion ended without a battle. Back on Zarkon Prime, Vorik received the final report. The Oblivion project has failed. He staggered backward. No. It was impossible to detect. The intelligence officer quietly replied. They detected it before we built it. The room fell silent. At that moment, every surviving Zarkonian commander understood the truth. Humanity hadn't won because it had bigger guns. Humanity had won because it had planned further, adapted faster, and valued intelligence over arrogance. With only 1 hour remaining, Admiral Marcus Hale sent one final transmission across the Empire. This is your last opportunity. Surrender your fleets. Deactivate every military installation. Choose the future of your people. Millions listened. Across the Empire, Governors ignored Vorok's orders. Fleet commanders shut down their weapons. Entire battle groups surrendered. Occupation forces released conquered worlds. The empire itself was breaking apart from within. Only Vorok remained defiant. Standing alone inside the throne room, he whispered, "I will never surrender." Far above the planet, nearly 100,000 Terran warships aligned in perfect formation. The countdown reached its final minutes. The last 24 hours were ending, and with them, the age of the Zarkonian Empire. The final seconds ticked away. Across thousands of worlds, billions watched the countdown displayed on every military and civilian network. 10 seconds. The galaxy was silent. No fleets moved. No weapons fired. Even the stars seemed to stand still. 5 seconds. Inside the Imperial Palace, Supreme Chancellor Vorok stood alone before the enormous windows overlooking Zarkon Prime. Once, this palace had symbolized absolute power. Now it was empty. His advisors had fled. His generals had surrendered. His empire had already begun to crumble around him. He whispered to himself, "How did this happen?" The answer arrived not as an explosion, but as a message. Admiral Marcus Hale appeared on every screen across the galaxy. He wore the same calm expression he had carried since the first day of the war. Behind him stood officers from Earth, representing dozens of nations united under one flag. His voice echoed across every inhabited world. 72 hours ago, you declared war on Earth. You believed strength was measured by the size of your fleet. You believed fear could build an empire. He paused. You were wrong. Another hologram appeared. Instead of burning cities, it displayed military installations that had been disabled, fleets that had surrendered, and occupied civilizations that had been liberated. The Zarkonian military no longer exists. Its command network has been dismantled. Its occupation forces have surrendered. Its weapons have been deactivated. He looked directly into the camera. From this moment forward, the Zarkonian Empire has officially ceased to exist. Across the galaxy, confirmations poured in. One after another, imperial governors declared independence. Border sectors formed their own governments. Conquered civilizations raised their original flags for the first time in centuries. The imperial crest disappeared from star maps, replaced by dozens of free systems. Not because Earth conquered them, because the empire had lost the loyalty of its own people. Without its military, without its fear, it simply collapsed. Inside the Galactic Senate, stunned ambassadors watched the updated galactic map. The once massive Crimson territory of the Zarkonian Empire fragmented into hundreds of peaceful, independent nations. Ambassador Lyra quietly smiled. "I warned you." One senator asked softly, "Will humanity claim these worlds?" Lyra shook her head. "You still don't understand humans. They never wanted an empire. They wanted the war to end." Above Zarkon Prime, Terran fleets maintained formation. Not a single weapon fired. Instead, thousands of relief ships entered orbit. Medical vessels, food transports, engineering ships. Their first mission was not occupation. It was reconstruction. Hospitals received medicine. Power grids were restored. Orbital stations were repaired. Millions of civilians who had feared annihilation watched human crews helping them rebuild the very worlds that had declared war against Earth. An elderly Zarkonian woman approached a Terran medic treating injured civilians. With tears in her eyes, she asked, "Why are you helping us?" The medic smiled. "Because our war was never against your children." Several weeks later, a historic ceremony took place inside the rebuilt Galactic Senate. Representatives from hundreds of civilizations gathered to sign the Treaty of Soul. For the first time in recorded history, every major power agreed to a common principle. No civilization would ever wage a war of conquest again. Earth was unanimously invited to lead the newly formed Galactic Peace Council. Admiral Marcus Hale stepped to the podium. The chamber erupted in applause. When the applause finally faded, he spoke only a few words. "Leadership is not the right to rule others. It is the responsibility to protect them." the Senate stood in respect. Even former enemies joined the applause. Years later, children across the galaxy studied the conflict known simply as the 72-Hour War. They learned how the greatest military empire in history had fallen, not because humanity was cruel, but because it was prepared. They learned that Earth had spent centuries investing in defense, intelligence, unity, and discipline rather than conquest. Most importantly, they remembered the warning engraved at the entrance of the Galactic Peace Council on Luna. Never mistake humanity's patience for weakness. If Earth offers peace, treasure it. If Earth warns you, listen. And from that day forward, no empire ever again declared war on Earth. Because the galaxy had learned a lesson written not in ashes, but in 72 unforgettable hours.